Welcome to Unmuted Podcast, your midlife roundtable, where we have honest conversations, real stories, and expert insights on the wild, wonderful ride of midlife. We're here to break the silence and remind you you're never alone. Today's episode is brought to you by the Pleasure Pods, an all-natural, body-loving lubricant and moisturizer that supports confidence, comfort, and pleasure at every age. Stay connected, stay empowered, and stay beautifully unmuted. Susan, back to, all of the ways that we can ask our partners for what we like or different things that we can do. I'm sure there's so many women out there listening right now thinking, oh my God, Amanda, I'm totally on board with you. Or Kara, I know what you were talking about. But you have a sex life bucket list that I would love to just have just a little chat about, because it just sounds, I think I'm more curious than anything. I'm like, give me some things to do. But all of these little play dates that you have and having names for these things, it's so much easier than to say, you know what, I went to Susan's website, I found this, whatever, or she was talking about this on the website. Now I have a name for it. You don't have to come up with it yourself. Somebody is here helping, and you're being the conduit for us in that way for us to be able to do that. So can you talk a little bit about your bucket list, your sex life bucket list?
Yeah. After I learned how to give myself have the 20 different kinds of orgasms the human body can have, and I'd learned some practices, like I went through G-spot de-armoring. I found my G-spot, and then I went through, and it's not a spot, it's a long tube at the top of the vaginal cavern, and the cavern's not a canal, it's a pocket. We have to have whole new words for this stuff that aren't patriarchally oriented, like even just vaginal canal. It's not a tube, it's not an inside out penis. It doesn't even want, which is all you see. Even just that one thing. I've come up with, tons of orgasmic intercourse techniques specifically to give the vagina what she wants instead of what just the penis wants all the time. Let's mix it up, people, right? And so I just started having all these different things, an expanded orgasm practice, becoming a multi-orgasmic man for my husband. He learned how to do that and have full body energy orgasm. There's so many things you can do that aren't just wear lingerie and have sex on the dining room table. That's Cosmo level sex, which is still patriarchal. And I like sex positions, but the sex positions I like tend to be ones where I'm stimulating multiple erogenous zones simultaneously with my partner. So I'm just really coming intensely. I like to do things that help have intensity and duration of orgasmic pleasure, because you can train your body to have all these orgasms. That's a good thing to do in your sex life because they're really, really healthy for you. Super healthy for you. So that's alone reason enough for many people to be willing to try to do it, because it's good for you. And the sex life bucket list is basically 48 erotic play dates that I've come up with over the decades. And I want couples to go through the 48 play dates and print this little PDF out. It's at sexlifebucketlist.com. It's a free PDF. I give you a video. I walk you through all the play dates. My hope is that you're lying in bed together. You've printed out 2 copies. You both have pens, and you've got your laptop or your phone propped up on a pillow, and you're listening to me go through the 48 play dates. And you're marking each one A, B, or C. This is definitely on my bucket list. I want to find my G-spot. I want to have female ejaculatory orgasms. I want to have an orgasm from intercourse or multiple, or I want to have an expanded orgasm practice. I want to do this. I want to do, all those things. B's are, it's not something that I need to do, but if you want to do it, I would do it with you. If this sounds interesting to you, I'm down to try it. And C's are, it's not for me right now. I'm not ready for that. I'm not interested in that. I don't even know what that is. I don't really even understand what that is. And that's a C. Put that in your later list, because never say never. You'll get there. Trust me, you will. And then you have your A list, and you kind of merge it. And now you've got this nice group of things that you can begin to learn together. And when you begin to learn them together, you get that new relationship energy, because a good sex life is a combination of you trust your partner, you're able to surrender, you're able to have the practice of staying in sensation together with you're willing to try new things. You have some communication skills. You're not totally silent in the bedroom. You can advocate for yourself and your partner. And you're willing to just do stupid stuff and laugh about it later and not have it be perfect.
Literally
And when you
running to
have
that website after this, not walking, running.
good. And it's really nice because then you can see what your partner's interested in doing and what you're interested in doing. And you can kind of pick some stuff and then you just put it on the calendar. Remember I said that when I hit the bed, I'm not turned on and I'm not horny. I just know I'll get there because my husband and I have patience and he's never puts any, 9 times out of 10, we'll end up having incredible fun together of God knows what kind. Every few times here and there, I'm just like, I don't know, babe. Can you just tuck me in? Can you just pull? I like him to pull the cover over my shoulder, all the way up over my shoulder and get it all tucked in there. So I can just go to sleep because sometimes I just am too tired or I can't get lift off. And he does not get mad about that at all.
And I promise you that you're not faking your orgasm, right?
No. I never fake anything. I never
Because
fake
how many of
anything.
us are out there and listening to you say, I just want him to tuck me in and thinking to yourself, oh my God, I could never. I would have to fake an orgasm in order for sex to be over. Sex can just be over when you say, thanks, babe. That was really nice, but I'd really like a sandwich right now. Or can we just put on Love is Blind? Or can we just like tuck in right now? I really enjoyed that. And we'll try again another time. But it is a very foreign concept for a lot of people to be able to say that.
I encourage him to masturbate.
Yes.
I give him masturbatory toys. I'm like, honey, try this thing and let me know how it works. You know, he has a collection of men's sex toys because it is not my job to give him an ejaculation. It is my job to give him pleasure and connection, but I don't ever feel like I have to finish him off. I don't need to. He can just masturbate. I want him to masturbate a lot. It's good for him.
Susan, thank you for saying that. I need you to repeat that. I don't think a lot of people understand that. And I'm going to say number one is me, but I know that's...
Yes, I have a couple of non-negotiables in my sex life. And these are my compensatory mechanisms that I always offer up to people and be like, try these. If these aren't the right ones for you, think about what I'm doing and see what it is you need in your sex life too. Like you don't have to do what I'm doing. You could do something that's kind of like what I'm doing that works better for you. So I'll say it in that way. This isn't just like Susan Bratton sex advice. This is just what Suze does. I don't like necessarily all the time to be penetrated. I like to be in charge sometimes of penetration. That helps me. I taught myself how to ride my husband cowgirl. And probably when I was like in my late 50s, I was like, I want to try this cowgirl thing. Like I got more confident and I love to get on top of him and lower myself down onto him super slowly at my pace. Because I noticed sometimes I was feeling like my turn on would dip a little if he penetrated me too fast right at the beginning. There was just a thing for me of that, like not feeling in control. So I took the control. So one of the things I do is often I choose after I get that penis in there, I'm fine. But there's this something about the moment of penetration for me where I just sometimes like to be in control of that. So I learned how to do that. And now I feel so bad. Sometimes I'm like, are you getting tired of me just riding you and coming and screaming in your ear? It's not too much, is it? And he's like, no, it's okay. You can do that as much as you want, right? It's like, I'm not too loud, am I? Having all these orgasms. I'm coming and coming and coming. All learned, just practiced it. So one is that. The second one is when I'm done, like if we're making love, if he's going down on me, if whatever, anything, giving me anything, fingering me, we're using, and I'm like in the moment going, oh, I think I'm complete. I say, babe, I think I'm complete. And we just take a break. And then sometimes I'll be like, now I want to do this, or now I want to do that, or I just want to snuggle. And then I get all excited again and I want to do something else. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next, and either does he, but we just allow me to be. And we just ride the fun waves of whatever that is. And most of the time it is super fun and unpredictable, which makes it exciting. So I just stop whenever it's not 110% excellent for me. And a lot of times I'll start back up again. So that's a second one. And then the third one is that I don't ever feel like I have to finish him off because I want him to masturbate frequently. Now, my husband and I are of the age where he's a snorty snorer. And so we go to almost to sleep, but then I have to give him the big elbow and he has to get up and go to our second bedroom, and he sleeps in the second bedroom because I need my sleep. And if he solves that problem, he's welcome to come back, but he hasn't. I think we like to sleep alone now. He can just go to his bedroom and masturbate as much as he wants, and I want him to. It's very healthy for men to masturbate because the more that they kind of blow that ejaculate out and keep filling up their semen bucket again, that prostate is working. And if you read longitudinal studies about people who have sex live longer, they're mostly male studies, and they're mostly because they're ejaculating frequently, and that's keeping their prostate from getting cancer. And so you don't want your guy having urinary issues, prostate problems, prostatitis, benign prostatic hyperplasia, prostate cancer, all the things that guys suffer with. So encouraging him to masturbate, encouraging him to pump his penis too. Get your guy a vacuum erection device. I wrote a book on it. It's free download. It's at pumpingguide.com. If he pumps once or twice a week and fills his penis with blood, it keeps the blood carrying capacity of his penis really good. And so he maintains his erectile function. But he shouldn't masturbate to ejaculation on the day that he pumps. He should masturbate or make love to ejaculation on the days he doesn't pump, because you want to keep the blood in there for a little while, not just whoosh it out. That's like one of the little tips about how to use a vacuum erection device, or AKA penis pump, well. Another thing that I think is really good for men is a prostate massager. So get him a little tiny one, because he'll be like, I can't put anything up my butt. He'll be all like, oh my God. And then you'll stick that little vibrating thing, or just make him do it. Be like, boo, here, boo, stick this in your butt, and then ride him cowgirl while that thing's going on. You can use the remote control and you can just make him go crazy. And when you stimulate that tissue, it gives him a blended P spot. Oh, and what that does is bring blood flow into the prostate, which brings all the healing factors of his blood, and the oxygenation of that keeps him healthy. So his job is to ejaculate. Your job is to facilitate.
Because that's not what we've been taught. And I'm so grateful to hear you express it in the way that you did, because it's been in my head that I'm the one that's supposed to satisfy him. And in every single one of my relationships, because I've never been married and I've been in a lot of relationships, it was about satisfying him. I never had an orgasm until I met Brian at 53, when that man knew how to support and satisfy and give you multiple orgasms, okay? I've discovered, I am doing things I never thought my body could do, but it's because he made me feel safe. He made me feel like I could be vulnerable, and letting all that emotion go with him to allow him to get to that, unbelievable. But then I couldn't stay in it because I got in my head, I need to satisfy him.
How's your 69?
Not a big fan of the 69. I'll be honest.
So many people don't like 69. I love it. But you know
too.
what I think it is sometimes?
practice.
Is I think, again, people think it needs to be really fast. Like it needs to look like maybe sex, or it needs to look like something else. But my goodness, there's nothing nicer than inverting yourself and having your partner just kind of worship you while you're worshiping them in like a really slow, mindful, conscious way of just like licking and tasting and sucking. And I've heard people say all the time, well, how am I supposed to concentrate doing that and orgasming? I'm like, that's not the point. The point is to get there and have that build up and just be as still as you can and explore your partner's body while your body is being explored as well, and feeling their reaction while they're pleasuring you to something you've done while you're pleasuring them. And then you hear them moaning into your body. And it's just such a different feeling altogether than what people think it should be is what you would see in porn, right?
Yes.
The fast, the pussy being licked really hard
Right.
and, the cock is in the mouth and everybody's moving really, really fast. I
Yeah.
get a headache just watching it.
Me too.
I'm like, no, like slow down and just
Yeah.
enjoy your partner's body and love that. So, I'd say bring back the 69. I say bring back because I've talked to a lot of people in younger generations and they're saying they don't do that anymore because it's too much work. And I'm like, well, you're doing it wrong
That's
because it
right.
shouldn't be that much work.
Yeah, it's just like Deb. It's just like you experiencing female ejaculation and enjoying that for the first time in your, in your 50s. There's a couple of things. One is that you didn't enjoy that before, but now you love it, and that's because you were ready to have that experience and you had that trust. The other thing about mutual oral, I guess, is what I would call that, mutual simultaneous pleasuring. And what Serena was saying, and that is that it goes, let me give you a reframe on it. Another reframe in addition to what Serena said, where she was saying it can be languid and it's just, there's no goal. It's not goal oriented. This is where we're just in a conjoined state of co-creative pleasure. And when you do that, don't worry about the giving and receiving. Take your pleasure. Just what your job to do is just enjoy his penis around your mouth, your lips. Sometimes I like to rub it on my face or tap my lips with it. I like to stick it all the way down my throat. Sometimes I just have the tip in there. Sometimes I'm licking the whole thing. I'm literally doing whatever it is that's going to give me the most pleasure. By doing that, when you're not giving for effect, to affect your partner, when you're actually just taking your pleasure, they begin to realize they can take their pleasure too. And then the performance anxiety wanes because you don't feel like you should be coming because they're trying so hard. The trying goes away and you start coming from his penis in your mouth, your throat, right up under here, underneath your lip, between your lip and your gum. If you rub the tip of a penis, if you stick it in the side of your mouth with your teeth, your mouth closed like this, and stick the penis between your cheek and your teeth and rub around all like that, it'll make the spit run. It'll get you really turned on. It's making my spit run just thinking about doing that right now. I have to swallow my spit. So it's when you slow everything down and then the next step beyond that, when you get to the point where you're starting to have orgasms from using his penis in your mouth and lips on your lips and your tongue, and it's making you come from what you're doing to him. You're using him for your pleasure. Then he's like experiencing your yoni and it's creating pleasure for him. Then the next step beyond that is he can kind of like take over your whole nervous system and you can do the same. You can take over both your nervous systems. And so let's just say he takes it over. Now his penis is in your mouth. He kind of knows your rhythm and what you like and he's felt you get yourself off a lot using his tool for your pleasure. And he kind of knows the depth and he knows how to breathe you and pace you and he's not pushing you too hard. He's not trying to make you come anymore. You're just coming. Now he can literally rock your whole body with his body, and that rocking sensation, that rhythmic rocking, it will make you come even harder and it will set up almost like this full body orgasmic, because your mouth and your vaginal opening, your introital sphincter and your anus and your irises and all your sphincters, your epiglottal sphincter, everything, they're all one system. They contract together. And over time, you'll start having full body orgasmic contractions from him literally just like jiggling himself on you. And then you can feel that and you can jiggle him and be in control of everything. And then after that, the next thing is it just kind of goes back and forth. And now it's just that ecstatic bliss state, again, that Serena and I like to exist in, that's available to all of us. So now what's happened is there's no performance, there's no pressure, there's no goal, there's just sensation, there's heart connection, there's connection to each other, and it's just a flow state of bliss. Now, when you think about mutual orgasmic oral in that construct, instead of in the what we've seen demonstrated, you're like, I'm all like that, right? It's a total reframe on the pleasure. So that might be something you could enjoy.
Oh my gosh. Not I don't know. I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we were all taught these things instead of censored? So thank you again for having me.
I've never had a
These things,
conversation like this. Never.
Nobody
Never.
has. I know.
So
with all of this knowledge you have, Susan, I mean, I'm totally just taken in because I'm again, like Kara, no one talks like this, and so openly, right? And it's just such a safe space to do that. But with all of the knowledge that you have and experience and, working with people and your own experience, now that we have this pill that's come into the mix, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. The Addyi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I don't know a lot about it. I've been doing some research. I haven't taken it myself because this is a weird thing because I usually like to try everything. I had been talking a lot and speaking a lot over the last, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years on the subject of sexual biohacking. And sexual and biohackers, they like to talk about a stack of things because in your episode where you talked about the pink pill, one of you talked about how it's multifactorial and that this might be a component, but there's so many other things. We've talked a lot about the other things, the lack of pressure, the self-acceptance, the willingness to try new things. We've covered a lot of the other, not expecting you. It's totally normal to have no desire. That's not how we work. We get turned on. We don't walk around turned on most of the time. These are the special moments when we feel that way. And I think there are what I'm concerned about with it is, and I haven't tried it myself, and that's because I'm 64, but I still menstruate because I've been taking bioidentical hormone replacement since my mid-40s. I started topping up my progesterone, then I started topping up my estrogen, and I've just kept menstruating. And I don't cycle it. I'm not on the Wiley protocol. I just take estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. I also have high oxytocin because I make my own yogurt and I eat that Lactobacillus reuteri yogurt at home. And that keeps my oxytocin stores. It keeps my gut good. And I make a lot of oxytocin because I get a lot of touch. So that's a very good thing too. It keeps me calm and grounded. So does the testosterone. So the Addyi, I'm not sure how that would work with somebody like me because number one, I don't have hypoactive desire disorder. I'm not even sure that's a thing. So I don't completely understand all of that. I don't know how to unwind that. I know that it works on, I think the dopamine pathway or something. It's more of like a neurotransmitter situation. So I think there's probably a subset of women for whom it's probably really good. They could be women who are on antidepressants of some kind or what have you. I mean, there's so many different brain chemistry states that I think there's probably a subset of people for whom this could be really, really good. And I probably am not one of them. So, I mean, it's one of those things where if you think it might be worth a try for you, why not try it? But I also understand what you talked about on the episode you did recently about it, where, there's a pharmacological cascade effect of, okay, now I got to take a pill for the pill I'm taking kind of thing. So I worry about that. These are all known issues. I don't want to dissuade anyone from taking it. And I don't want to recommend it because I'm not in a position to recommend it. But I was telling you before we started the episode recording that I just, from my pharmacy, a compounded sildenafil cream and shea butter, and I'm going to put that on my clit and just see what happens. It's basically a topical nitric oxide boosting product. It's a PDE5 inhibitor, so it essentially helps you open your vascular pathways to get more
Viagra.
It's a topical Viagra.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it helps you get more blood flow into the erectile tissue. And since the female genitals have as much erectile tissue as the male genitals, but it's all up inside there, the notion of a topical sildenafil could be interesting for getting a nice amount of engorgement in the tissue. When you get engorgement in the tissue, it plumps everything up. Then again, so do pleasure pods rubbed on you with the nice vibrator bringing in all that blood flow. That's the path I like, yoni massage pathway. But when you plump that tissue up, it has more surface area. Now it's expanded, it's full of blood. When it's expanded, it has all of the little different cells that are in all that tissue, from mechanoreceptors to temperature receptors to the nerves and the corpuscles, various kinds that are in all the genital tissue. They have the ability, when there's more blood flow, to send more signals to your brain, your biggest sex organ, so you can feel more pleasure. So I always recommend taking a nitric oxide booster. That's one of the supplements I make. If any of you guys want any, just let me know after the show. Send me an email and I'll send you samples of those, plus my Desire multivitamins with libido botanicals in them. I like libido botanicals. I like nitric oxide boosters. They're plants, right? I mean, that's why I like the pleasure pods. It's plant based. You can do 69 after your yoni massage and you don't need to wipe it off. It's food grade, plant based, buttery deliciousness. Opt for starting with top up your hormones, try some exogenous testosterone, take some nitric oxide boosters, get some yoni massages. Don't assume there's something wrong with you when you're just like all the rest of us. We just got to get there. All of that first. And then if you still can't get liftoff, if your orgasms are diminished, maybe you need some Gainswave treatments, or you need some red light therapy to the labial tissue. I would try those things. I would do a lot of different things before I took a pharmaceutical, but I would never rule it out. So I guess that's my thinking about how I'd approach it.
And you said so many important things there about the arousal tissue and the way this is working with a topical, quote, Viagra. And I think one of the things we spoke about, which I need to reiterate to the listeners out there, is that Addyi is not the woman's Viagra. It is not. It does not work that way, but it's being marketed that way and it's being called that. And I think that's very misleading. And I think that's the toughest part that I'm having with it, is that people are going to take it thinking it's going to work.
And you have
like
to take
a
it every
nitric
day.
oxide.
Like it's not
Right, you
a
have to take
it's
it
not a
every day.
once, I'm going to take it like Viagra an hour before and it's going to work. It's something that you have to take every single day. So
And
there's a commitment to that.
it doesn't work on your clitoris. It doesn't work
No.
on your genitals, everybody. It works
Right.
in your brain.
Brain.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
a completely different thing than what Susan is talking about. And I
Yeah.
think all of the options that you were talking about are so important, like you said, to rule out. Like, how many women come to me and say, I had a client this morning and she's like, I don't have any desire. And I said, okay, well, when was the last time you and your partner, made out? And she's like, well, we haven't in like a year. I said, well, no wonder you have no desire to initiate, to go forward. Let's try something else before you label yourself as broken.
Right, exactly.
So it's, but we don't know we're allowed to do that because, again, Susan, you made such a good point, is that we do not walk around just turned on all the time. You can be a turned on woman,
I am.
i.e. you're open to being turned on,
Yes.
but day to day, you got to go to get the groceries, babe. Like, we're not orgasming all over the place all the time. But just because you don't feel that doesn't mean you're broken. You just need to understand so many of the concepts that you brought up today, that give yourself time, allow yourself the space to be open to exploring new things, allow your body to have that time to warm up to things.
And
Use the pleasure
one
pods.
thing I
try
found sort of
something new.
disappointing too when they were talking about the pink pill was they sort of missed the education as to why some women really do develop like hypodesire disorder. And a lot of it happens in menopause because like without having the estrogen, or when our estrogen production starts to shut down, that actually does affect dopamine in the brain. It affects serotonin, right? So, I was kind of disappointed that they didn't talk about how women should maybe investigate these pieces first as well, not just, again, we don't want to over medicalize things, but like, that's sort of part of the root cause of why that happens for some women's, in many cases, right? The hormonal piece. So it was kind of disappointing that they really didn't talk about those pieces either. I really thought they would have talked a little bit more about, what actually happens in the brain in menopause and why it could happen. And, like Susan's been talking about, let's try some other things that can help support the body before we look at the commitment of taking something like Addyi.
Amanda, I want to come back and just say, because I did watch the movie last night, and I think that movie was really created for Cindy to show the battle that she went through with
Oh,
FDA.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's what it was all about,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Patriarchy.
What
Yeah.
happened and what FDA did and what FDA doesn't, I guess, account for women in the health world, especially the sexual health world in other areas. And so I think she had to make that for herself and showing the battle. I think that something else needs to be made now to talk a little bit more about this, because as we saw from the movie, with her to come back into the company after she sold it, right,
Mhm.
for $1 billion. And I lost a little respect for her when I saw that. And then when I saw she bought it back after the company that bought it from her increased the price like 4 times. I mean, she's still got a fight ahead of her. There's no question about it. I think she needs to come out with something to really dive into this a little bit further.
Well, it just highlights the patriarchy again, right? And how they want to control women's bodies and how they want to be in our uteruses and all of that thing. And even now, the shortage of estrogen patches is a bit of a debate, right? Because how do you have a patch that's supposedly supposed to be widely available, knowing that all these women are using it, and now all of a sudden you're crying shortage?
Yeah. Is there a
Like,
shortage of Viagra?
right. Where's the
Absolutely
shortage of
not.
Viagra? There's no shortage of Viagra. I believe it's just another thing that insurance companies and the FDA are trying to control, and other powers that be are trying to control women's access, right? So it still feels like an uphill battle, even trying to get the simplest things.
Just
Yeah.
wild to me, because these are the same, it's the same system. I'm not going to say the same people. You need to be very careful. But it's the same system that wants to have sex with us, but
Yes.
they're limiting all of the things
Yep.
that could possibly want us to have sex with them. I
Yeah.
always say, if you want to have sex with somebody, you should be nice to them.
I just remember at the beginning of the movie, and she went into that FDA meeting, in 2009, and the gentleman turned to her in one of the panelists of the FDA and said, "Why do we need more horny women out there? Are you really kidding me?"
Serena, I think you brought up a really important point, and it's that both of everybody on the gender spectrum has been so conditioned into what seg is. And Susan, I think this is why all of us have been so wrapped up in listening to you talk. I was looking around the screen, watching everybody's faces, and we're just like being sucked into the screen because you talk about seg in such a lush, organic, natural, pleasure-filled way that we don't hear. And so men are also, they don't have that program in their brain either. And they think it's submission. It's about productivity. It's about getting this done quickly. And so
Performance.
this narrative, yeah, Amanda. And so Susan, bringing forward this way of talking about seg, I think is really important for everyone, no matter where you fall.
Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to Vegas next week to speak at an event, Shalene Johnson's event. There'll be probably 700 to 1,000 midlife women there. I spoke last year on, basically I was teaching a lot of the fundamentals of your genital systems and engorgement and female pleasure, libido, desire, and arousal, and how they're different and how they work together as a system so women could understand their bodies. And it was the most enthusiastic audience to which I'd ever spoken, and I've been on hundreds of stages by this time in my life. And they're having me back this year and I'm going to take it up to the next level. And Shalene texted me the other day, Shalene and Jesse, and they were like, hey, would you come and do like a 20-minute conversation at our nighttime pajama party? Would you teach women how to, first she wanted me to teach how to give a blowjob and how to, like, basically how to be good at oral sex. Then she's like, no, wait. Here's what I want you to do. How do we train our guys to be good at going down on us? And she didn't use the words train. That's my words. How do you, I learned from Dr. Patty, who was really the mentor who got me into this whole line of work. She really got me started. She was the first woman who ever got her PhD in female orgasm. She taught me the expanded orgasm practice. I carry on her lineage. She was the one that encouraged me to expand my orgasmic capacity. She taught me so many interesting techniques that I still teach to this day, and I attribute her as much as I possibly can. And one of the things that she talks about with partners, and it doesn't have to be men, it's people, is that you're always training your partner. You're either doing it implicitly or explicitly. If you do it implicitly, you're doing it by the actions that you take. If you do it explicitly, you're showing them what you want, you're asking for what you want, etc. And so often in this maturation, we go from implicit to explicit training. And so when Shalene said, yeah, do more like, how can we teach our partners to just like basically eat our pussy really well? And so I was like, God, this is fantastic. I am finally, after decades of talking about sex and having to start out in the why sex is good for you, to get on to like longevity stages and health spans. Now people are like, yeah, teach us how to get our husbands to eat our pussy really well. Like, thank God, this is fantastic.
I really love
I,
Shailene too. She's doing a lot of good work out there, like for like midlife advocacy and stuff. I mean, I used to do a lot of her workouts back in the day, but like she's like really, really good. I really
she's
enjoy her.
incredible. She's just the spitfirest of spitfires, And so, yeah, next week I'm going to be teaching women how to implicitly and explicitly train their partners to give them really good oral. And it's
Do
interesting
we sit in on
because,
that?
yeah. No, she's not going to allow anybody. She's making everybody put their phones away because, she doesn't want anybody like caught on film listening and getting posted to the internet or what have you. But I will be writing about it because I'm thinking a lot about it. But it's interesting that you want to know the number one way?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Here's the number one way to get your partner to be really good at eating your pussy. That is, be really, really, take your pleasure with if you have a male body partner, with his penis, if not with your partner's vulva, take your pleasure. What we were talking about earlier when Serena and I were talking about how we like 69 and you guys were all like, I don't know, I'm not really sure. And then we were like, well, the reason that we do is that it's not performative and we are taking our pleasure. When you begin taking your pleasure on your partner's genitals and they see how much you're getting off on it, it dawns on them. This isn't just about doing it to make her come. This is about she's going to get off seeing me get off. That's interesting. Now we're back to that whole like conjoined trance state of ecstatic bliss. When you just let go of all the stuff and you just take your pleasure, it is so empowering for your partner that they get better. That's my ninja trick.
I love that ninja trick. That's amazing.
What I think we need to do now, if I had to think about everything, it would probably be something more like each one of you talking about like your big takeaway from this conversation, because I've done enough talking and I think it would be better for people to hear your individual, like, here's my biggest breakthrough and this is what I think I'm going to do first kind of things, because they come for you. So I'll just shut up and you guys take it.
I'm going to start because it is so top of mind and that it's not my responsibility to take care of his orgasm anymore. Susan has given me the permission and I am now moving forward and I don't give a shit and I'm going to worry about me and my orgasms and my pleasure.
I will build off what Deb said. It was revolutionary to me when you said it's not your job to finish them off. Like, that is so deep that everything has to be equal and measured. And so, what I'm taking away from this is the lack of destination, but just letting it feel good in the moment, and that sometimes that could be enough. The yoni massage and the all of the massage, that is on the first thing on my bucket list.
And encourage them to masturbate.
Yes.
They need
I'm
that.
gonna take my pleasure back. I'm gonna take my pleasure. That's the biggest thing that stuck out for me. But also, like, I'm with Deb too and Lisa, like, just learning that there are times where I'm not responsible for making him come. Although I do feel guilty when that doesn't happen. But my partner's like Deb, he's like, that's all right. I'm good with you. Like, I'm good taking care of you, whatever. But in the back of my head, it's like, man, I feel like a terrible wife. So, yeah, the permission to kind of let that piece go and like to take my pleasure, find my pleasure and take it. Because I'm really bad at that. So I'm going to start doing that.
You're going
That's
to
a
make
me
him come
problem,
when you
right,
take your
Teresa?
pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
the
he's going to
problem
love
there.
it.
What's
He's going to
that?
love it.
Yeah,
He'll
no,
love
I'm
it.
the
As soon as you
problem
start
there.
taking your pleasure, they love
Serena
it.
has told me in the past that I'm the problem sometimes. So
Amanda and I have had some pretty deep conversations, and I'm like, but wait, I think you're the problem.
because I think you're the
In such a
problem.
kind way. I love you so much. Carol, what about you? What's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest thing is probably just like redefining. Like, and Lisa, I just really with you, that one really resonated with me. And I don't know why we carry the guilt or the whatever that it has to be like how it's supposed to end. And just redefining it and like getting excited about like trying something new, just like that, being a student of sex. And yeah, I don't, this whole conversation is like, it's like watching heated rivalry. It kind of, kind of got me warm, kind of got me going. So I'm not dead inside.
It's a
Hooray.
nice feeling, right, Kara, to know that you're not dead inside.
I'm
But
not.
listening to
I'm
somebody
not.
else
I'm warm.
talk about it so easily and like so naturally and like in this kind of space, and it's like, wait a minute, like there's some things going off in my head here. Wait, no, wait, I am not dead inside.
You are not dead inside. Thank you guys for saying that. I think my biggest takeaway, if I'm being completely honest, just to I think it's a little more professional than anything, but to just continue to be as open about talking about sex as you are, Susan. Like sometimes we find ourselves in spaces as educators where we're muting ourselves, and which is ironic on the Unmuted podcast. But for myself as a sex educator, I do mute myself quite a bit, and I pull it down so as not to shake up a room. And I think just listening to you is so inspiring to kind of bring that language back again. And when I bring that language back to my teaching, I bring it back to my life. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that we can have, everybody and everybody listening to, is whatever you're feeling, like the ladies were saying, we're finally feeling like maybe we're not dead inside anymore, but sex begets sex. You know, the more you talk about sex, the more you're going to feel sensual and sexy, the more permission you're going to give yourself to say the words pussy, vulva, cock, you know, balls, all of these things that we think are so bad and that good girls don't talk about. Well, the thing is, you know, the more permission that you give yourself by having these really open conversations, the more you're going to show up for yourself, not only in your masturbation practice, but in your relationships. And then farther outside of your relationships in your world, you're going to start saying to yourself, I have the audacity to ask for that promotion. I have the audacity to say, this is what I deserve. I have the audacity because I am a powerful, strong, turned on, vital woman. And I'm allowed to be that. And I'm allowed to be big. You know, so one of the biggest lessons that I have learned myself and that I like to teach people is that you deserve to be loved in your bigness. And I think Susan is one of the biggest examples of what that is, because my babe, you are such a huge personality and such an open book when it comes to this, that you are giving everybody around you in your orbit that permission to live in their bigness. And I just want to say thank you for that from the bottom of my heart, because every woman listening, every woman on this panel, we all took something from you today, and we're not finished learning from you. Yay.
I hope you
Is
come
so
back.
wonderful.
I hope there's
Thank
like
you.
a part 2 of all of this.
Anytime. It is interesting that when I talk about sexuality, if you look at it like a mass market, about a third of the world is like the five of you. Like, yes, you're empowering me. You're blowing my mind up. You're making me step into my greater good, my greater pleasure, my greater self. About a third of people, they're neutral. They're numb. They're shut down. They can't process it. It's, like it almost doesn't have an effect on them. And about a third of the people are triggered, upset. They attack me. They say terrible things. They shame me. They're just awful. And I look at all of that and I think to myself, okay, that's a reasonable spread. That a third of the people could be lifted up. A third of the people I can't change, that they're not going to be able to enroll in anything that's just beyond. And a third of the people will hate me. I love those people that hate me just as much as I love the people who love me, because I'm in my compassionate heart and I know that they're stuck where they're stuck, in the patriarchy, in the repression, in the structure. And so I'm outside that structure, which is very triggering for them, and it makes me feel badly for them. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I have a compassionate heart for them. And so anyone who is still here at the end of our conversation, who's been able to hold themselves through this, they're in the 2/3. They're probably in the third, like gung-ho. And those are the people ultimately who will thrive, have more pleasure, have more oxytocin, have more joy, have more, live longer, be healthier, be happier. And you can't save everybody. You just can't. But we did some good work unwinding the past to move into the future of what we want together today. So thank you so much for just this entire really juicy, good, loving, kind, and vulnerable conversation that you all had with me. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. It has been a joy.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Pleasure Pods, an all-natural, body-loving lubricant and moisturizer that supports confidence, comfort, and pleasure at every age. Stay connected, stay empowered, and stay beautifully unmuted. You can follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Unmuted Midlife Podcast.